At Disney, Zegler pulled a con so bold in London, audiences were screaming refund in 4 languages. Let's just say that thanks to Zegler, a bad publicity stunt, and a few hundred smartphones, the big number she was supposed to sing in Evita is now all over social media.
It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
But it wasn't sincere because she's had a long history of saying woke, annoying things. Our new Snow White.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Major Hollywood voices recently criticized Rachel Zegler for being the most conceited, disrespectful, and tone-deaf actress in her career.
The very first actress in history to become box office poison before she ever came box office.
It was the first time in history that an actress became a box office poison before she ever opened for business. She is now a symbol of how vanity and awakened activism can ruin a career, having destroyed Snow White and damaged Disney's brand. They refer to her as Hollywood's worst actress.
It was a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash. Check this out from Men Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
Let's begin with her pitiful professional journey. In 2020, Rachel Zegler, then barely 17 years old, somehow landed the starring part of Maria in Spielberg's West Side Story. And look, she deserves praise for that. That role is ideal. Spielberg is also not a C-list filmmaker. People believed she was going to become a full-fledged A-lister at the time because she even won a Golden Globe for it.
Rachel Zegler's career launched when, at 17, she landed the role of Maria in Steven Spielberg's 2021 adaptation of West Side Story.
When Rachel Zegler, then 17 years old, was cast as Maria in Steven Spielberg's 2021 rendition of West Side Story, her career took off. She was hailed as the next great thing in publications. Casting directors were swooning, studios were salivating, and Disney, they believed they had hit gold. With their dazzling new Snow White remake, they threw over $200 million at it like money grew on CGI trees. It didn't.
And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
The girl who was meant to be Hollywood's love interest was no longer strutting the red carpet by 2025. Not at all. She was crying on stage during Evita, battling pitchforks on Twitter, and receiving memes that made fun of her for playing to a packed theater.
An iconic song, yes, but it's the balcony grabbing all the attention.
The girl who was meant to be Hollywood's love interest was no longer strutting the red carpet by 2025. Not at all. She was crying on stage during Evita, battling pitchforks on Twitter, and receiving memes that made fun of her for playing to a packed theater.
I think there will be people who are disappointed that she hasn't sung it live in the theatre, but I think it's going to be greatly outweighed by the theatricality of using film in that way.
Yes, it's a classic tune, but the balcony is the one drawing the most attention.
She's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
By the way, it's a classic
they began
tune,
streaming
Evita's
Evita's
performance
performance
is the one drawing you like a
most
street
attention.
performer because she was so anxious for attention. Unable to sell out a performance? Don't worry. Put up a screen and wish that someone will trip over it while heading to Starbucks. Online ticket sales basically fell to zero.
Free.
Not a shred. People wanted to watch her sing about Argentina that much.
Here's actually Rachel Zegler, who is the new Snow White, and she's talking about Snow White being woke.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler.
However, we cannot solely place the blame on the theatergoers. With her assistance, of course, Disney sort of set her up for failure. From the beginning, Rachel's choice to play Snow White was controversial. The 1937 classic featured a kind princess with pale skin and vintage charm. Disney did what? They introduced Rachel, who essentially relaunched Snow White as a girl boss tyrant who harbors a personal grudge against fairy stories and has a superiority mentality.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
That change in tone is startling, even if you're not a huge Disney fan. All that was desired by families that grew up watching the original was a little nostalgia. Instead, they received a contemporary, politically charged rendition of a classic that resembled a TED Talk on empowerment more than a tale of enchantment.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
You heard that right. Zegler not only believes that she's a priceless work of art, she thinks she's sacred, and she doesn't just shout that into the mirror.
Furthermore, change in tone Rachel didn't exactly assist even herself. If you're not a huge She called Disney the original fan. Princess Stalker, all that was desired by love families that grew up watching and then had the gall to claim was that a little Snow White's moniker no longer even they referred received to a contemporary, politically charged rendition of a classic that resembled a TED Talk on empowerment more than a tale of enchantment. The same individuals who believed it was progressive to transform the seven dwarfs into luminous computer-generated images. Yes, let's hold off on going there just now.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion.
Let's go back to Zegler. She was justifiably criticized by critics and viewers for blatantly disregarding the role she was recruited to fulfill. Imagine earning millions of dollars to play Snow White and then touring the world to expose Snow White's lack of intelligence. That would be equivalent to Ryan Reynolds stating, "To be honest, I detest superheroes and this suit smells like garlic," after being cast as Deadpool. Oh, hold on. Even though Ryan may claim that, at least he's being charming when he undermines himself. Not so much, Rachel.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie.
Fans also didn't like it. More quickly than her box office figures crashed, the hashtag #NotMySnowWhite became viral. The internet as a whole decided they were sick of seeing famous people ruin treasured classics in an attempt to demonstrate their progressiveness.
Anyway, in one clip, she calls the Sharks, the rival gang of the Jets in this new version of West Side Story, a rainbow of the Latino community, and then struggles to name what constitutes Latino diversity.
People don't want someone who approaches every interview like a poetry slam about how terrible the past was to rewrite their childhoods. Furthermore, Rachel seems intent on making sure that no one would ever forget how much she detested the original film, the character, the prince, and the romance. To be honest, I'm surprised she didn't destroy the apple too.
Just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
Babe, what business do you mean?
But hold on, things get worse. This girl was able to make everyone dislike her. Like complete alienation on a tour. A growing star should be able to manage a little celebrity, right? Thank your admirers, wave, smile, and repeat. Rachel, though, while she was at Chili's, a fan sang a line from West Side Story to her. Instead of expressing gratitude or even pretending to smile, she informed Jimmy Kimmel that the man had destroyed her evening. Who makes that claim? Peasant, I appreciate your excitement in seeing me. I've destroyed my enchiladas now. Really?
For a very long time, it seems that nobody has quite captured the public's disdain like our girl, Rachel Zegler. The damage had been done.
It didn't end there either. At Disneyland, specifically on the Snow White ride, which is based on the film in which she is starring. When fans stop her for photos, she claims she has to act like she loves them. Act. She freely acknowledged that she has pretended to be kind to those who support her profession. I don't know what screams ungrateful more than that.
She recently told that to a reporter and her psychiatrist that every inch of her body is built inside and out to be worshipped. My compassion has no boundaries.
This wasn't simply a cringe fest, so let's talk about the numbers. It was a financial catastrophe. Disney spent more than $200 million on its Snow White makeover. Additionally, they invested more than $100 million in marketing. That exceeds the GDP of certain nations. In exchange, what did they receive? A U.S. opening weekend that barely managed to raise $43 million. And it only became more repulsive. Sales of the movie plummeted by week 2, falling by 66%. It's not a dip. That truly is a Titanic moment. Screaming, lifeboats, everything.
Snow White, they recreated it. You know, Disney's gone woke. As I keep telling you guys, even though a lot of the woke stuff is disappearing.
Theaters began subtly eliminating the film from their top showing times, shifting it to awkward midday showings, or taking it out completely. This product brought in less than $1 million in China, where Disney often prints money. Not quite $1 million. That essentially amounts to popcorn revenue. Final projections show overall losses of about $150 million. Failures like those cause executives to reevaluate their life decisions. For example, someone at Disney most likely took an early retirement in order to avoid responding to emails on this issue.
I'm a narcissist.
Thus, go woke, go broke is more than just a catchphrase. It was transformed into a business plan by Rachel Zegler. While sobbing on a balcony for a theater performance that was being seen for free outside, she was able to anger the public, show disrespect for the original artists, offend her own supporters, and waste hundreds of millions of dollars.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
Not to mention that hundreds of Hollywood actresses would have been thrilled to have Rachel's possibilities. Rather, she took everything, rolled it into a fiery ball of ego, and kicked it straight into the pie that Disney values the most. Whether you have talent or not, humility cannot be taught. Either you possess it or you throw it out the window.
Not that many scripts that come down the pike.
Only 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
Did you believe that the catastrophe ended with the box office receipts? Rethink your thought. Rachel Zegler's masterclass on self-destruction isn't even halfway completed. Hold on tight, for here is the part where everything starts to go horribly wrong. It would be equivalent to witnessing someone drive a Ferrari down a precipice, then jumping out and accusing the cliff of being the cause of the accident. Let's discuss the aspect of the circus that truly sealed the deal. The calamity of the dwarfs.